welcome back to episode 4 now. We're doing, wait, 4, it's right. You said 4.
Mhm.
4 of Astrolo-tea. And we're so excited to dive into the intense energies of what's going on in the skies with this eclipse portal coming up. I know Kylie and I are both feeling it. I know a lot of people are feeling what there is just so many big shifts coming on a macro level, micro level. So without a doubt, let's dive right in. You guys know who we are at this point, so we're not going to really do introduction. But Kylie, what are you drinking? Because today I'm drinking just lemon honey water. But what are
I'm
you drinking?
making a mix of so many things in a pot that I boiled. And it's got, there's green tea bags in there and lemon and ginseng and ginger, some orange peel and different goodies like that because I'm trying to up the immune system right now.
Yes. I think we all need that too as we go into these winter months. And
Yeah.
yeah, what have you been feeling? If you could describe in a couple of words, this almost like pre-shadow of the eclipse portal that we're going to be going into from October 25th till November 8th. What have you been noticing the most? Because I'll share once you've shared, because there's
Yeah.
things coming up.
A couple words. Yeah, I'll say like to describe this eclipse season. And like Shelby said, we have a lot of things going on for October. So I'll give an overview for you guys after we share. But just to kick it off, I would say I'm feeling into preparing for transformation through that initial process of release, which I always see as the start of a transformation. So definitely feeling that release energy. And sometimes it's in graceful ways, and sometimes it's in I'm ripping it out of your hands. So, and I think it's interesting because I will just add to that the release for me, and I think for many of us is maybe showing up in a psychological way. Scorpio is a deeply psychological sign, and it really rules over the hidden subconscious and our fears. And I know for me, there's a lot of maybe what feels like actual external things that you're being asked to release or that you're being challenged with. That feel intense, which are Scorpio themes. But really, when you dig deeper into that, it's because the root of it is a fear in you that is being asked to be released. And how else do we release our fears other than face them outside of us? Otherwise, we don't even really know that we were afraid of that. So I'm feeling a lot of that energy in the collective.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too. You're like, how about you? It's been interesting. Yeah, I've been tested in all sorts of ways this past week, with just certain things going on in my life, things breaking down, people saying things, certain energy coming in. It's just made me really reevaluate where I'm giving my time and energy and how important it is to kind of take that time to reflect and look at, there's almost like I had this dream, and I'll share this before you dive in. So I had this dream that I was standing in front of this like pavilion, weird door thing, right? And I've heard of a story before, and I think I've shared this with you before, but it's like on the other side of that door, that thing is the life that you want, right? And almost like Abraham says, everything you want is queued up. It's right there in your vortex. It's just right there. There's just one thing you have to do in order for you to literally be in it is to understand how to embody that energy of who that is and what they do and their behaviors. And it seems like each moment passes, it gets a little bit deeper understanding of what I need to do in order to bring that future reality into the present moment. And I had this dream that I was like moving through this layer of just like weird slush, and it happened so quickly. And then all of a sudden I was like in this new reality, and I was like, oh, I got here because I literally believed that this was mine, and here I am, and I have it. And then I woke up and I was like, okay, this is weird. I mean, I'm still in my physical reality, but to experience that, it was so eye-opening because so much of what we are experiencing right now is not what we're going to have in a year from now. A lot of us are gonna be in a completely different place. And I feel like this eclipse season is really gonna start that movement through that like slush like I was experiencing to be in that new reality all of a sudden. So it's crazy.
Oh, what a cool like concept. And of course, you're feeling into that as a Scorpio, and right as Scorpio season is knocking at the door here. And, that's why for people watching that are maybe learning a little bit more about astrology, that's why we call this season eclipse season, because the North Node and the South Node have been in Scorpio and Taurus, Taurus and Scorpio, really, North Node, South Node, respectively. And so whenever we have our full moons and our new moons in the sign that the nodes are playing in, those are eclipses. So these seasons are really, really powerful. And it's just so fun that you're feeling into that vision, because everything about Scorpio is transformation, and it really, really takes us deeper so that we can really shed layers of what is outside of ourselves and get back to that internal core power, which is, in some ways, like you're saying, our belief. And that again goes into the concept of it being so deeply psychological of a sign. And yeah, this energy is just knocking at the door right now. And of course, we kicked off eclipse season back in April with Taurus. And as you just said, it kind of feels like we're pushing through that final sludge to embody and step in. And that's very Scorpio in my opinion. And it is the ending of this eclipse season, so to speak, right? Or just really the kicking off of the final draw. But so get ready, buckle up. Okay, so speaking of, we're gonna go ahead. This video is all about just chatting about October and future energy update. So we're gonna go ahead and dive in with just what's presently going on in the sky. I want to start off first with a little fun fact that Uranus is still retrograde until January 2023. And Uranus has been in Taurus, shaking a lot of shit up, for lack of better words. And as we can see, everything with, even just to give one example for you guys to practically apply this, think about the crazy ups and downs in the stock market, the crazy changes and sudden shifts with currency and money, and also the crazy ups and downs, particularly with the real estate market, right? And this is all Uranus in Taurus themes. And so that one is still retrograding until January 2023, even though we have had a lot of energies that have and or are going to be stationing direct this month as well. So just to list those off, we had Pluto going direct in Capricorn at 26 degrees, which I want to point out is a Taurus degree as well. And we'll talk a little bit about these connections, but there's a lot of Taurus transformation energy on the table right now. And there has been. So Pluto's gone direct on October 8th. And, you guys might have felt like a very subtle, because this planet's very far away. So it feels like a very subtle shift. But again, in that psyche, in that psychological development and thought processes, and in our willpower and intent to aim and go forward, right? This is very Pluto energy in a way, and it really continues that transformation, and that energy stationing direct kind of gets things pushed back in motion a little bit more than maybe they felt like they were before. So we're just creeping back into this energy. And I want to point out again that it was happening at that Taurus degree. Again, that energy of money, and it's happening in the US's second house. It's a Taurus house naturally. And it is, again, just highlighting and hitting these themes of personal finance, of domestic currency. And I just want to keep in mind here that Pluto is all about death and rebirth, AKA it brings permanent lasting changes. Okay, so we can see this on the horizon. So just highlighting that again with the Uranus energy and the Pluto energy and all these Taurus themes, right? Moving on to what else is going on. Obviously, we've got the North Node in Taurus, as it has been. And this is just, the North Node is such a powerful way to navigate what themes are on the horizon and what we're working through right now. Every cycle that it shifts into, it's such a powerful way. It's like a North Star to focus on, and also to focus on what relationships the North Node is making with other planets, because those are so significant for the themes, right? And so again, all these Taurus themes we just talked about with these other planets, well, the North Node is in Taurus. So again, just hitting that this has been a constant theme of working, redeveloping, reimagining. And what comes with that before we can do that is destruction of the old, right? Or decay and decomposition of what was. And so we've been really feeling through these themes, these Taurus themes, for a little while now. But I think it's fun to point out that the North Node and Uranus made a conjunction this year in July 2022. And this happens about every 15 to 16 years. So just a fun little pattern to pay attention to here, that about 15 years ago in 2007, the North Node and Uranus made a conjunction as well. And it's interesting because that conjunction kicked off the market crash. And it was in Pisces, which Pisces rules dissolution and endings. Okay. And then now we've got the North Node conjunction happening again in Taurus, and we see volatile energy in the markets. But I've been saying, and I'm going to continue saying that, and I might be wrong, but you know what? We're just going to have fun with it. So I've been saying, and I'm going to continue saying, that when I observe this pattern, yes, we're seeing crazy highs, crazy lows, crazy highs, crazy lows. This is what Uranus does. It's in Taurus. Okay. And then the North Node too does this, and it's in Taurus. And this conjunction to me, though, when I look at that 15 to 16 year cycle, kind of says dissolution happened here. And then we followed the nodal cycle, and we really plateaued as the North Node went through Aquarius and Capricorn, and it really bottomed out and came back up with the stock market. And then we see North Node in Taurus, crazy volatility. But to me, it's kind of signaling a cycle of change and rebirth of the new monetary structure, right? And it's kind of like the initial start of that, which comes with a lot of volatility and turnover. And I am going to continue saying that I think that the big crashes in the market are going to happen a little bit later. Like we're almost at that 18.6 year mark with the nodal cycle, but we're not quite there yet. We have a few more years to go, right? So I'm feeling more into the energy of 2025, 2026, or when you see that North Node hit Pisces, Aries, Aquarius, we start to really see this dip, or I'm sorry, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. So just something to think about. Interesting little thing going on there from 2007 to now. And last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about how Saturn is going direct in Aquarius at 18 degrees. And this is happening on October 22nd, I believe. But again, Saturn direct is going to bring about that energy of, I'll just say this, Saturn is all about you reap what you sow. And it's challenge and karmic reward and other karmic, good or bad, it's karmic reward. We'll say that. It's challenges, it's development. It doesn't always feel good. It can feel heavy. When this goes direct, you might feel some self-restraint lift because the retrograde might have had you a little bit more restrained within in yourself. But you might feel external challenges come up a little bit more, or you're like exhausted a little bit from the work that you've got to do now. Themes like this, might arise with that Saturn direct. But what I really want to point out for the collective about this energy is that, again, we're going to look at the North Node. Saturn has been squaring the node for a little bit. Pretty much it's been a theme with the North Node all year. These planets move slow. And Saturn in Aquarius, to me, squaring the North Node, again, all this transformation with currency, playing on that Scorpio Taurus axis, which says, how we work, how we build, how we develop, and how we share these resources, how we exchange our energy with one another. This is all this axis that we've been playing on with deep transformation. And then we've got this square with Aquarius saying, I am challenging you to look at these changes and redevelop a new way of community, a new way of networking, a new way of organizing, a new way of doing your systems. And we can feel this, and it feels like the rough, not good challenge right now. But again, keep in mind, when you work through it, Saturn, you reap what you sow. So you've got to work through it. And we're feeling that energy pretty tough right now as a collective.
I want to bring up something because you said something about this new monetary structure, and this could be something for our next video. But there's a lot of news that came out months ago about BRICS getting together and created a new world reserve currency and doing it with this new system backed by gold, which would greatly affect the US dollar. It would essentially mean the downfall of the US dollar if they start bringing all these countries in and really doing this. And they have a new
that's inevitable at this
gold.
point.
They have like a new mine of gold that's worth like $12 trillion. They just found in Africa, one of the countries they're partnering with. So it's like you kind of see all these little pieces coming together with how the US Pluto return is happening. And then on top of it, we have all of these like increased energies with the eclipse coming in saying, okay, if this is a part of like our destiny and what we're headed towards and what is necessary for these new systems to come in, like how can we learn to cope with these times? Because like you said, you think they're going to extend a little bit further than what we think. So how can we learn to grow stronger through these times? And how can we also learn to hold a sense of like endurance as all of this stuff just keeps getting thrown at us and thrown at us? And instead of internalizing it, being aware of what's happening and saying, I'm prepared for this. I'm ready for this.
Which your awareness in itself, that is like the key word that came to my mind too when you just asked that question. Like I just have to reiterate that you're right. Like if there's a lot of things that we can do, right? There's a lot of ways to answer that. But what you just said is so powerful for everyone. It's this awareness alone that really empowers you a lot, because at least with your awareness, now you get to decide how you're going to handle the energy instead of being sidetracked or sideswiped or completely just oblivious and feeling as though everything is happening to you and that there's nothing you can do with it. And yeah, I think that's why we do these videos too, because there's intense energy on the table right now. And like you said, stamina is going to be something that we need. Also knowing the power and surrendering and knowing ourselves. I think that makes me want to actually point out one odd aspect that I wrote down that I usually don't talk about, but this was a perfect initiation into the King-Cux, I think is how you pronounce it. I like Quin-Cux. You know? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like never pronounce it. I always just read it, but it's a minor aspect. And
the trine, the square, the
Quin-Cux.
Yeah, Quin-Cux.
It's fun. It's Quincunx, but it's a fun word, but it's 150 degrees and it's an aspect that's considered a minor one, but it's still pretty powerful. Like one of the most powerful ones of the minor aspects. And the way to feel into that aspect is to see it as a longing, almost like the energies want to work together to push further, but maybe they just kind of miss, or their efforts don't quite hit it sometimes. And it's like this longing that it leaves, but it's great in that it pushes us with our human nature for further development, right? Because of this like longing. And so it's interesting to me because this solar eclipse, which Shelby, this is all I'm gonna say about this because people don't really totally get it, but girl, this solar eclipse is happening on my north node. Anyways, this solar eclipse.
Anyway,
throw that in there because I know you'll appreciate that. This solar eclipse is in a almost exact 150 degree. I believe the day of the eclipse, Jupiter is going to be at 0 degrees Aries, and the eclipse is happening at like 0 or 1 degree Scorpio. It's 2, yeah. So it's within that 3-degree orb. So as long as it's in there, it's a really tight aspect that's happening with Jupiter and this solar eclipse. And the eclipse wasn't really making too many other tight aspects like that. Like that's the main one. So I wanted to point that out because it's, to me, that says Aries, Jupiter in Aries, and it's still in retrograde till November. That says to me that this longing, like that this eclipse in Scorpio highlights where we have to dive deeper into our subconscious and psyche, and it like blends our emotions with our sense of self, which like really illuminates our psyche, like in our face, kind of. It's like can be a little bit intense, intimidating, shocking, right? And this eclipse is going to be doing that, which naturally would evoke one to want to look at itself and dive deeper into the knowing of yourself, especially which Jupiter represents higher knowledge and spiritual wisdom. And Jupiter in retrograde in Aries is all about learning more about the self.
Isn't
And
that
I
crazy?
really feel that being like
Ah,
strong for the collective right now.
you know, it's weird. This is just a side note, but I felt this like a deep calling. I have all these notes in my phone, right? In my phone note section. And I made this new section just called like best version of me, or like higher self-activation, right? Whatever. And I just started getting all these ideas of things that I need to do to up level like my physical health. I'm like, oh, do this, and oh, buy this, and oh, go here. And then over a period of time, I just keep adding to this list. And I'm like, I'm just going to slowly start checking off things from this list, because I know that right now I'm being called to have that upgrade on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, right? All the levels. And there's something that I brought up to you, and I'm going to bring this up now for everyone who's listening, but there's this almost like question that's come up for me of where have you been investing your energy? And energy could be anything. It could be money, because money is a form of energy. It could be your actual like physical energy, like what you do with your time, where you spend your time, who you spend your time with, what you guys do together. It's almost like this theme, and Scorpio has that theme of like, who are your relationships with? How are you interconnected with them? Relationship dynamics, like what are they good? Are they bad? Do things need to improve? Do certain people need to leave your life for a little bit in order for you to make these upgrades so that you can meet them again in another place? And then there's also this like this feeling of needing to level up, wanting to level up, and realizing that when you do that, the people around you meet you at that new level, right? They're either ready to or they're not. And I think there's this sense of, and you brought this up too, Kylie, you're like, because there's a lot of things we have to let go of and release. And there's this grieving process of that, because you know there's certain things in your life you know you're not supposed to do anymore, and you know it's not good for you, and you know it's not good for your health, yet you still keep doing it. And so we're forced to look at, why are we giving energy to that? Where did that even root back to? Like, what that habit that we have that we know is not good for us, why do we keep doing it? Where did it come from? Was it passed down to us? Was there some situation in our youth where we were like, this is just normal and this is what everyone does, and so this is what I do? And I think a lot of people are starting to question that right now, especially around
People
like physical, yeah, especially around like physical health things. I've noticed that in certain like content I've seen people create lately, they're questioning, one of the biggest ones is alcohol. I think alcohol, especially as you go into the holiday times, there's a lot of emphasis on what's your mental health, right? We're going into this time that's supposed to be the happiest time of the year, right? But for a lot of people, it's stressful, especially on their finances, and especially with all of the other added layers of what's going on the macroeconomic scale right now. Like, yeah, it's really interesting. And I obviously work in a sector where people are coming in and investing in gold, right? And I'm trying to explain to people the importance of buying real solid physical gold versus just the coated, 18K gold, because this solid form of gold is a store of value. You're investing your money into something that is going to hold value for you. And so the mindsets of people is very different right now. Some people understand it, and some people are like, no, why would I invest all that money into something that they just can't understand? They're like, I can't fathom spending more for something that has more value, versus I'd rather just spend the cheaper amount and get something that maybe won't last as long or has the same like impact in terms of what value you can get for it around the world. They don't understand that. And so it's really interesting to see the different perspectives on this, and the concept of how we invest not only our money but our time, and what we're doing, and the behaviors we have, and who we spend our time with, it's really fascinating to me.
Everything you just say too. I want you to keep going, but to throw in that's you're so feeling into the Mars in Gemini retrograde, which
Yeah.
let them know like that's October 28th. That's going to be happening all the way through for like, I know this, but it's like what, 7 months, something like
Yeah.
that. It's in
Yeah.
the spring of 2023. But no, everything you just said there too, how you said we're going to reevaluate who we're hanging around with. Gemini's our network. Mars is our energy, and it's going to pull back, and we're going to reevaluate. That's what retrograde seasons do. And then, like you said too, the connection with Scorpio, Mars rules Scorpio, or Scorpio rules Mars. So it's like all so connected, what you're feeling into, and it's like totally going to be a pull that the collective is feeling as well.
Yeah.
And to add like what we initiate, right? Like Mars does a lot of initiation. Gemini's a mutable sign, so it might get a little bit crazy up in here. And when it goes retrograde, you might like feel a lot of that energy internalized, where you might find yourself either one of two things. You need to have a healthy outlet for your energy, and you need to pay attention to the way it manifests as thoughts and words on yourself, because it can get like a little terrorizing at you if you don't know how to properly outlet that, right? But then, or as Shelby's been highlighting, the way that we outlet it onto others and the way that we exchange our energy, like we need to be mindful about that, especially with this Mars retrograde. But another thing that could look like is us initiating a lot of new projects, or initiating a lot of things we're trying to, but it feels like it's not working out too well. So something to pay attention to before you initiate, and before you just like spitfire your energy anywhere, like go all crazy like a firecracker. It's like, try to remember that I need to have intention. So I love, again, just re-highlighting what Shelby just said, like the intention behind how you're investing your energy is going to be a big theme, probably because a lot of us are going to just spitfire and realize that we really ought to look at that. So we could take the gem that Shelby's leaving us right now with how to work with the awareness, so that we don't do that, or so that we can aim more true, aim more intentional, which in true Scorpio nature, you guys have such specific aim.
And there's also a theme I'll end with too, because this came up. I was watching the show with Jacob the other day about just like the human potential, and how the human, like we can really do some pretty amazing things with our body and our minds if we put ourselves up to it. But there's a very small number of humans on this earth who actually do that. And the show is on, it's called like Human Playground. And it's all about the human potential to go and do these crazy things with our bodies, and how we can push to our limits. But most people don't do it because they're stuck in that place of this is my box, and this is what I can do, and why would I want to do that, right?
And fight against even believing it, huh?
Yeah, the belief is the big part. And then it also brought up this concept of we can only go as deep, or we can only meet someone as far as they have met themselves, right? So the work that you do, you can only go so deep with someone else if they've done that work themselves. If they haven't, they can't meet you there. No one's above one another, but it's in terms of that inner work, the reading, the meditation, the investing in yourself, learning from people who've been where you want to be, and like continuously doing that, and realizing that you're never gonna like get there. It's about that journey of just constantly being in that choice, choosing this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're like so on the same frequency, because I was on a walk last night with a friend and literally said that direct quote to them, and was just like reiterating how powerful that is. But now you just made me realize, with how you talked about Scorpio in all this, that, again, also paying attention to who's attaching to you and who you're attaching to, and recognizing, because I think there's such beauty in holding your own power in that way, and knowing that, hey, I've met myself really deep, and I understand that not everybody's there to be able to meet me there, but I can hold my power and I can call them deeper. And that only can happen if I don't attach to them, and if I don't take their power from them and expect them to come attach to me. Like, that's not the way that works, right? Scorpio is all about also ridding ourselves and releasing from external attachments. And it can be, when it's in its not as strong stance, it can be what's the word, obsessed. It can be obsessed with attaching to things because it gets so obsessive, right? When it's like not in its strength. But when it's in its strength, it realizes, well, how you just said that, you know, I mean, I can go as deep as I want to go with me, and others can meet me there. But that's when you're really standing in your internal power. Ah, I love these conversations. Any final words? I'll let you close this out.
No, just our mantra. It gets better the better it gets. No matter how crazy life gets, there's some blessing out of it. And honestly, this past week with our building having issues, elevators breaking down, I was just like, there's something good that's gonna come out of this.
All the decomposition and decay of Scorpio season.
Yeah. Gosh, exactly.
Yes, it gets better the better it gets. Sending you guys so much love as always. We'll be here weekly, or we try to be, so just keep showing up for these conversations and keep interacting with us so we can keep giving you guys value. Bye.
Bye. Happy season.